Order number 966556 was an order from the mayor to pay for credit due on municipal utility bill company, the company that had gone through all of our utility bills, and they found some discrepancies, and we have received a bill from them for $6,000, and at this time I see no problem in paying that. They saved us $12,000, so we actually netted about $6,000.
Motion to approve.
Seconded by the chair. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carries. Next in the file was a transfer request for the fire department. It was order number 966580 from undesignated fund balance to vehicle repair and maintenance, $12,766. From what I understand from Acting Chief Kyle, that the budget has not been completely depleted at this time, but he's running real low, and he wanted to get in for a transfer to carry him through the month of June. There were some repairs that needed to be done. It's a pleasure of the committee for this. Seconded by the chair. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Last order that's sitting in the file was 966535 for the Finance Committee to review the feasibility of the Affinity credit card. It did refer out from Operations and Oversight last week. I had thought it had been referred out of Finance Committee, and it hadn't. Motion on the floor to approve, seconded by the chair. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to hear something about
it. Did you receive a packet or anything on that? You didn't receive anything on that? I apologize. I thought this had been referred out of committee, and the information was supplied to the Operations and Oversight. And what I'll do is I'll provide the information, and we can take this up on Thursday night at our meeting, if that's not a problem.
I can give you a quick synopsis of...
No, on Council Lashman, I think she's going to want...
No, I haven't heard anything.
No, we had all the hard information in Operations, and like I say, I didn't get the information to the committee, and I apologize for that.
Let him know.
Okay.
Basically, after a lot of research with a number of banks throughout the country, the best two options we had were here locally, Marlborough Savings Bank and Hudson National. Hudson National is very unique in the fact that they provide their own credit card from start to finish, where most banks are using one of 6 major banks throughout the country to basically be a middleman, and they get a little cut of what goes on. Now, the program can be set up a number of different ways. We approved a basic plan. There would be no annual fee. That is the first area that you can raise money from one of these Affinity credit cards. And to stay with an annual fee, we all felt would be make the card not competitive by what's going on out in the marketplace today. So the bank has agreed with us to waive the fee. The next thing is to be able to get a piece of what they call the interchange, and that basically is what everybody spends on the card on a monthly basis. Secondly, that is the second part. The third part is to get a percentage of the interest. That is the total interest generated by all the credit cards every month. They'll be backed up by statements. Hudson National has also gone ahead and offered to go with a 8.9 finance rate for the first 6 months, which hopefully will help people get their card and get maybe balances transferred to it and get us earning some money. Part of the program we talked about was maybe going the first 3 months without us getting interest in exchange for a larger interest rate. We've been negotiating the interest rates and the interchange rates, and Hudson National has given us a great deal. In fact, from the initial numbers we were talking about, and I don't want to say anything about it until the contracts are done as far as the numbers, but from what we started with, we've already, Hudson National has already increased both the interchange and the interest rate after our discussions. And I've been trying to sit with the mayor now for, since that meeting to go through all of this. We pretty much have everything worked out, except the mayor's got to sign a contract allowing them to use our, or something, a logo from the city of Marlborough. We talked about a picture of City Hall in Boston, the credit card, and to agree to the numbers that we're going to get. There is no cost or of any type for the city. It's a win-win situation for everybody, and I hope everybody will be getting credit cards in the very near future.
Jim, if I may, on that, you had wanted the council to have authority over spending the income derived from that credit card. That was my legal concern on whether or not that could be done. And my belief is what you need to do, because other communities have done it, is you need to have a nonprofit or a separate account. Was that explored?
The thing is, to get it out of the city, by law, any money coming in would have to go to the general fund. And the way to circumvent that is to set up a outside committee. It could include city councilors and maybe some key people throughout the city, and earmark the funds, or that group could decide how they want to spend the money. Hopefully it would be on things that would enhance city pride. My initial thought was it'd be an ideal way to start funding a community center that we've all talked about over the last couple of years, a place for Boys Club and Girls Inc. to be able to get together, provide good facilities that the whole city can use, aerobics rooms, I mean, all the things that go along with those types of facilities today, maybe a great swimming pool, and the high school teams, start a swimming team and that sort of thing. So the way to do that is to establish a nonprofit organization, and they would have control over all of that. Another way that's been done is also through a nonprofit organization, but giving everybody, the nonprofit organization would maybe choose 3, 4, 5 projects and literally put it on the ballot when they do the regular elections, and anybody that has a credit card would get that particular ballot so they could choose where they would like to see the money spent. But I think that might be a very difficult thing to be able to do, and control 2 different types of ballots going through the same election. So hopefully we'll get together with the mayor very soon. I've got a number of other changes from the initial thing we talked about, because the bank has made some more consideration for us, and hopefully we'll get it agreed and in writing very shortly, and applications in the mail. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's all the questions I have. I might throw as one thing that I think would be dear to the community is perhaps a fund to purchase open space.
I think there's a lot of great things we can do with the funds. Obviously, it's going to generate some substantial revenue, and if the legal department could clear up exactly how we can handle that, that'll be great. Motion. There's a motion on the table to approve and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? All those opposed? It carries. Thank you. Now on to our annual fundraiser. First of all, everyone has a copy of the schedule. I know it didn't fit everyone's needs, but we're a little cramped for time here, and hopefully we can do the best we can. What I had asked was that the controller and auditor appear at all the committee meetings to answer any questions, and tonight to have controller, auditor, and the assessor kind of do a little synopsis as to how we tie in the budget into the tax rate come November, as well as some of the assumptions used in the fall for projections of revenues, discuss free cash a little bit, and maybe get some of those things cleared up. So if we can get the ball rolling, and ask if you'd come up front and...
Mr. Chairman, before we get into that,
Sure.
could I pose a couple of suggestions? I had sent you a message about trying to consolidate some of our schedule.
Right.
Specifically, my concern is I would love to be able to get the budget referred out without having to vote on the entire budget the same evening. The way we're currently planned, we're planning to refer out on June 24th and vote 24th on the budget in order to meet deadlines.
That's right.
My suggestion would be that we could move the June 18th Public Works Review to June 11th. which would allow us possibly, if we did not have need for a final review or any minor items that could not come back within that week, to refer it out an entire week early. And I really think it's an excellent suggestion to give us that extra bit of time. We've already scheduled a meeting for June 24th at 6:30. I'm not exactly sure why, but somebody must anticipate a really long meeting. 6 o'clock, excuse me. Okay, the 24th at 6 o'clock. Somebody's anticipating a very, very long meeting. So if we don't have to do one more set of business, I would prefer to refer it out the regularly scheduled council meeting of, I believe, what is it, the 17th?
Yeah, I think the problem is, I know in the last 2 years, we had 7 meetings last year, I believe, or 8 meetings last year and 7 meetings the year before that. I will talk to the Commissioner of Public Works and tell him, or ask him if he wouldn't mind moving up if we look like we're pushing this thing forward. But to be honest with you, I just don't see it happening. I think that obviously we need the time to go through it. There's substantial increases, and I think, obviously the majority of them are justified, and I just don't want to rush this thing. I want everyone to take the time they need to go through it properly, and I'll be glad to give him a call in the morning and ask him if need be, if we can give him a couple days' notice, would he be able to make it quicker? Obviously, he knows his budget inside out, and I don't think he'd have a problem pushing it up, but again, I don't see that happening. I understand there's some timing problems and scheduling problems, obviously, throughout the schedule. I tried to grab all the information I could of events and things happening throughout the city, and there were conflicts all over the place. And I think with a 4-week timeline or a 5-week timeline, we needed just to set the schedule and work the best we could with it. So I'll be glad to talk to him about it, but I don't, at this point, want to just cancel those last 2 meetings.
Thank you. Also, I'd like to ask that you send a letter to all the councilors asking them to put their suggestions or their questions in writing if they may not attend a meeting. This is not an end-all and be-all, but it could save us some time on the night that we actually have to consider. People have come in with lists.
Right.
And we've already gone through some items, and we waste a heck of a lot of time. So if there is a particular concern and a councilor cannot attend, I would like to cover it in the committee process, if at all possible. Doesn't mean you can't bring it up later, but I think it would streamline the process as well, if you would.
No, I agree. I think over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of duplication of efforts going through. Department heads kind of look at you a little cross-eyed when they went through the whole thing once, and they have to go through it again, and I don't blame them. So I have no problem sending that out. The only other thing I want to note is I talked to the president. He gave me a call the other day on a public hearing, and when would be a good time to schedule it, before or after. So what he suggested was, if we have a finance committee meeting next Monday the 3rd at 7 o'clock for the specific purpose of a public hearing, it will be from 7 to 8 or whatever time is needed for that public hearing, to get any public input from citizens of the community. So if there's no other questions on the scheduling or anything else, I'd like to ask now if they mind coming up forward and get the ball rolling here. Did you want to give those things over? Whatever you have on the top there, that's a great place to start. What I wanted to do here was just, again, to try to have the professionals we have in the city kind of give a synopsis as how we get from this point to the tax rate come November, and what the process is on that, and maybe go through some projections.
Okay, I apologize to the other city councilors that I don't have enough information to pass around. I only anticipated 5 councilors coming in. We can make some copies if we take a break and try to get some information out to you. What I just passed out was 2 things. One is a 7-year budget that was requested by the city council. It should be noted on that 7-year budget, or finance plan, that the first 3 years are actual. The second year is what was budgeted, approved by the city council. The next year is what the mayor requests, and the other 2 are nothing more than departmental wish list that have not been reviewed by the mayor or anybody else. The next piece of paper I passed out was what we anticipate on taking in as revenue. It's preliminary estimates and should be used only as that. The numbers will change. But in order to start somewhere, in order to understand how much money the city will have to raise in taxes, we have to start with a preliminary estimate. Now, the preliminary estimate, for the councilors to have that, if you take a look at it, you'll see that as you go down, we did motor vehicle excise tax. I used the same number as this year. Didn't change it. DOR normally allows us to change that by 5% of what we actually take in. I won't know exactly what we take in until the end of this year, which is June 30th. So it's the same as last year. Other excise, I reduced that, and so forth. All the way down, I try to give a little bit of an explanation of exactly what we did. At the bottom, you'll notice that I said we'll do $11,720,170 in local revenue. That means outside the cherry sheet. Doesn't have anything to do with the taxation. I also anticipated that we'll pull in at least the same amount of money on our cherry sheet. Last year we received $8,333,275. It's the same number as last year. That number will change. Hopefully it will go up. Governor Wells running for Senate, so I would imagine he'll try to be nice to the cities and towns. So it will probably go up. Bottom line is I anticipate on $20 million. A little over $20 million being coming into the city for revenue next year. That will offset the budget.
Tom, up, down, the same as last year?
Pardon me?
Up or down, the same as last year?
I predicted it was about 230,000 less than last year. Understand that will change. There are numbers as we go along. I really don't get this down to where I want it until December when we set the taxes.
Tom, where are the hotel revenue? What, would that be in other department revenues?
Other excise, number 2.
Other excise, okay, thanks. And that's the same as last year?
Oh, it's down about 100,000.
Wasn't it supposed to be? I thought it was going up, actually.
There's a couple of things in that. There's the hotel tax.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
There's also 2 other items.
Oh, okay, so they're offsetting the hotel going up?
That's
okay,
right.
Thanks.
What I'd like to pass out from here is how we go about determining taxation. And it's to be used only as an example. And I'll pass these sheets out. I'm not sure if the other city councilors would like copies of this before I start.
Is that the one? The example, is there anything else with the example, Tom, or just the example you gave me this morning? I think we just made some copies here. We just made some copies so everyone has one.
I don't have what you have. I have 2 other things. No. This one.
Okay.
This one I do. Thank you.
In the process of establishing the city budget, obviously we go out to each department and request them to submit a budget to us. When they do, we put it into our computer system, it comes out. Excuse me. The department heads then at that time get an opportunity to sit down with me or the mayor, and we go through each individual budget line item by line item and determine whether or not we feel, the mayor and myself, that the department head's request is what is actually needed for that department. There are a lot of discussions that take place. Obviously, we do not know everything that's needed or required of departments, so that we take the department's word first and we take a look and see if we should cut. That's already been done. It's in the blue book. After we've gone through that and we projected the revenue, which you have in front of you, the next thing we do is go down and try to do a little bit of estimation. And this sheet should only be used again as an example. It is not setting the tax rate. But if you take a look at it, you'll be able to get a good feel on how taxes are set in December. The FY97 budget is $63,286,562. $20 million of that, we just went through that, is local receipts. That results in a $43,286,000. That's what it results in. If you take that number and you add in new growth, and that's the reason why Bill Marendet's sitting next to me, new growth this year, we're estimating somewhere around $1.4, $1.5 million. That's revenue coming into the city from taxation. It means if we did not do anything at all, left the tax rate the same, and only added in new growth, we get another $1.5 million in. If we did that, the actual amount of money that Marlborough would have to raise would be $41,786,000. So if you take that number and compare it to last year's number, which is FY96 budget, which was $59,748,000, we had local receipts of $20,237,000 with a net result of $39,500,000. To do the comparison, all you have to do is take the two numbers, FY97 of $41 million, FY96 is $39 million, and subtract it, and you have a difference of $2,274,750. That says if that was really the case, that we'd have to raise $2,274,750 above last year's. And to do that, I've given you 4 different ways you can do that. You can increase fees. Before this very committee, there is a request to increase fees. Marlborough has one of the lowest fees around. So if we take a look at that, we can reduce that $2.3 million. Cherry sheet numbers I've already indicated. Cherry sheet numbers are last year's numbers. I expect them to go up. How much, I don't know. But they should be sending it out to us very shortly. We can also talk about a little bit about the local revenue again. I projected $20 million, just a little over $20 million. There's some things going on that will probably boot that up a little bit higher. When that takes place, I'll finalize it, and that will go higher. The last piece of that is you have to increase taxes in order to raise the $2.3 million. And just to give you a frame of reference, in order to do that, for every $1 million above last year's budget, it is 43 cents per million for residential people. So every time you increase the budget by $1 million, it's 43 cents per thousand. On the CIP side, it's 75 cents per million per thousand. So in this example, you would have a residential increase of about $200 a year on a $200,000 home, I believe it is. Okay. I guess that's where I stop and ask if there's any questions. Bill Marendet obviously is here, and so is Diane.
Any committee members have any questions for the Comptroller? Or Mr. Beldekas?
Mr. Marendet, I understand that the city needs to be reevaluated every 3 years. Where do we stand in that process?
FY97 is a reval year, recertification year. We're in the process now of doing sales analysis, and we just finished picking up all the new construction, that type of thing. So we're beginning the process of doing the sales analysis on residential properties now.
How does that look to you? Does it look like the city's valuations are going up?
I really can't say yet, Councilor. We're just beginning.
Okay, thank you.
Bill, as a follow-up on that, because we're continually revaluing all the time, because we are pretty automated down there, we don't see the big swings like some communities, though.
No, I don't foresee a real outstanding variation any one way or the other. There'll be a lot of shuffling around, shuffling around, but I don't think there's going to be a big impact on values.
Other questions for committee members? Council.
Good evening, Marlborough. I'm Michelle Creswell, and here's what's going on in your city today, Tuesday, June 25th, 1996. A Marlborough man was arrested yesterday for OUI. City Council says okay to the $63 million budget, and we'll have a calendar of events for you for the upcoming days. But first, police arrested 41-year-old Gary Graham of Marlborough for violating a restraining order. According to the police, Graham has been making threatening phone calls to the victim. Graham awaits a hearing in front of a judge later this week. Andre Fusco, 39 of Marlborough, was arrested early this morning. Fusco and another female party were driving in a pickup truck on Highland Street when police noticed he did not have his headlights on. The officer then turned onto Highland Street to watch the truck ride right up onto someone's lawn. When the officer pulled the two over, they tried to exit the vehicle, and that's when the officer called for backup. As the officer was asking for Fusco for his license and registration, he could smell alcohol. After failing the field sobriety test, Fusco was arrested. As the backup officer was searching the truck, he found a marijuana cigarette in the ashtray. Fusco was charged with motor vehicle OUI, operating without headlights, and illegal possession of Class B substance. In a related story, a police crew who responded to the arrest scene was involved in a minor accident on Lakeside Avenue. Although the officer was not injured, the occupants of the other vehicle were taken to Marlborough Hospital with minor injuries. 30-year-old Mary Beth Bragan and 28-year-old Bruce McKee were the lone occupants of the other vehicle. Also in police news, Chief Joseph Barry would like to make the community aware of the break-ins that have been occurring lately. Chief Barry is concerned for the people of Marlborough and gives the suggestion that the residents should keep their doors and windows locked at all times. The break-ins have mostly occurred at night, with a couple during the day, mostly on Hosmer Street, East Main Street, and Cook Lane. Police say they are closing in on a suspect, but want the public to be aware of the break-ins. The City Council met last night to hammer out the final details on Mayor's proposed $63 million operating budget for the city's 1997 fiscal year. It took only 45 minutes for the council to approve the budget as amended from the Finance Committee. Arthur Vigent and his committee have been meeting changes as necessary. The only two sticking points to the budget were the librarian's salary, which was approved at $36,000 per year, with step increases, and the control of the city's parking ticket revenue, which will now be handled by an outside source. In all, the original budget was $300,000, and everyone agrees that no city services will be affected. As for what's happening in the community the next few days, on June 26th, the Marlborough Chamber of Commerce and Dr. Bob's Computer Orphanage will be presenting a computer seminar called Should I Fix It Myself? The program will be held at Marlborough Chamber of Commerce office at 11 Florence Street, right here in Marlborough, from 6 to 8 p.m. This seminar will give the computer owner the knowledge needed to explain problem service to the personnel and possibly repair them on the spot. The cost is $10 per members and $15 for non-members. The Solomon Pond Mall will be accepting applications for the 1,500 new jobs of the job fair on June 27th and 28th. The fair will be held at the Assabet Valley Regional Vocational High School from noon to 8 p.m. on both days. All stores will accept applications for various retail positions, including full and part-time management, sales associates, and stock jobs are available. The job fair will be held rain or shine. Some of the stores that will be coming to the new mall are Filene's, Sears, KB Toys. Also, TGI Fridays restaurant will be at the mall. The New England Jazz Ensemble will be performing at the Jazz at Sunset Summer Concert Series at the New England Science Center on Harrington Way in Worcester on Friday, June 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. Jazz at Sunset takes place every Friday until August 16th on the Sundial Plaza at NESC. In case of bad weather, the concert will be held inside the museum to the middle level stage. The concerts are $9 for non-members, $8 for members, and children 11 to 12 are free. For more information, call 508-791-9211. And just one last note, Bounty Street is closed from Moorhead to Robin Hill Road due to resurfacing tomorrow, all day. Well, that wraps it up for tonight's Marlborough Minutes. For everyone here at Channel 30, thanks for watching, and have a good night.
Okay, well, now we're visiting with Dr. Dr. Larry Doan, who's been kind enough to take time out of his schedule to visit with us. Doctor, thanks for coming today. Let me ask you basically about your specialty, your background, and how long you've been here at the Marlborough Hospital.
I do dermatology. I've been here since 1964.
Okay, well, you've certainly been here a long time. Well, we're into the springtime here, sir, and certainly a lot of cases of poison ivy are now popping up. It's going to be a subject we tackle here today. Tell me a little bit about what it is. What is poison ivy?
Poison ivy is the name we have for a reaction that many people have when they touch certain plants. They happen to be allergic to them, which means that their body has a rather violent reaction when they get the sap from this plant on their skin.
Okay.
Not everybody is allergic to that. So at least half the population, certainly in urban areas where people don't have a lot of plant contact, about half the population won't react to it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Many people who don't react to it when they're younger will learn to react to it as they have repeated contact. A common story of people who show off by rolling around in it and then discover a week later that they've got itchy blisters. Okay. It can make people miserable.
Now, how long, let's say someone does contract poison ivy, how long does it generally last?
Without treatment, the symptoms will generally persist for about 3 weeks.
Okay, you know, is this a contagious? If I contact someone that has it with rubbing of the skin, does it come to me?
It's an allergic reaction which only takes place in those who are programmed in their immune system to react to it in this way. And so the reaction takes place only where the sap from that plant gets on your skin. It can get there directly or indirectly. And this accounts for the peculiar patterns that allow us to recognize what's happening. Itchy blisters that occur in lines and clumps and patterns which are not symmetrical. If you see someone with itchy blisters that are precisely symmetrical, you know right away that it did not occur in that way.
Okay. Now, how can one prevent getting poison ivy?
And to go on about the first question, even if it's blistered and weaky, it's not contagious. You can't spread it on yourself, and you can't transmit it to another person. The material that comes out is the same that would come out if you got scalded by hot water. It's not contagious. It's not a poison. It's not an infection. It's an allergic reaction.
And prevention now is done by doing what?
The way you prevent that is to know what the plant looks like. Around here we have about 20 varieties of what we call poison ivy. In the spring when the plant first comes up, it has a reddish hue to it. They tend to be shiny, always in clusters of 3 leaves. In the fall, we have very pretty red berries that the birds carry around. If you don't recognize this plant, you will come in contact with it in the yard, at the beach, in lots, climbing up trees, around fences. Vacant lots is a favorite place. And if you're allergic to it, then whenever you get that sap on your skin, you will suffer itchy blisters, sometimes with a very intense, widespread reaction. If you get a lot of the sap on you, especially when your skin is injured by, say, sunburn at the same time. Well, aside from recognizing what it looks like, you can, if you think you might be exposed, you can wear protective clothing, like gloves and long sleeves, long pants. There are also several products which don't give complete protection, but which give some protection for, let's say, surveyors who must go into a field where they recognize that there's a plant there that's going to give them trouble. They've got to go in there anyway. There are several creams which you can rub on your skin and then wash off later that give at least some protection to people that way.
Okay, in the case of someone who does have it quite badly, what is the treatment?
The only treatments that are effective are using cortisone. If it's a very severe reaction, we can give a person a few pills. It'll usually turn off the reaction pretty well in about 4 hours. For most cases, people don't need the pills. They can use cortisone cream. The cream that you buy without a prescription is not potent enough to do much, unfortunately. It's worth a try, but you need prescriptions, and you need prescriptions for the most potent ones to really accomplish something. These cortisones interfere with some of the processes of your immune system, and so they slow down the allergic reaction. By using these things, it reduces the violence of it, it reduces the itching, and it shortens the course of it.
Okay. And last question, in worst case scenario, over-the-counter treatment does not work for someone, what is your advice to them?
If the over-the-counter therapy doesn't work, you can see your doctor and you'll get prescriptions for medicines that will help it. The over-the-counter products are somewhat useful. Calamine lotion is soothing. Of course, people itch a lot, so they think they should use a lot, when in fact, taking it on makes it less effective, since its action is to cool the skin by increased evaporation. It deposits small particles on the skin that increase the surface area for evaporation of water, has a cooling effect. So if you take it on, it actually interferes with that. It's most effective if it's used very thinly. Caladril is calamine lotion with Benadryl, and Benadryl is an anesthetic when used locally on the skin. Unfortunately, it won't help the itching from this, and if you take Benadryl pills, they're also sold with Sominex and other sleeping pills. You can use it to help you sleep at night, but it won't reduce the itching, and you have to be careful taking such a thing during the day because it'll make you sleepy. So people fall asleep at work or in class, and you don't want to drive a car. You'd rather be itchy than sleepy when you're driving.
Okay, well, very interesting information about poison ivy, Dr. Larry Dillon. Thank you.
These people are serious athletes. They're reducing their risk of heart attack and taking steps toward a healthier life. Not with a strenuous program, not with fancy equipment. They're just using their own 2 feet. As little as 30 minutes a day can make a big difference in your health. So isn't it time you suited up? For more information, call your American Heart Association and find out how you can help walk away from heart disease.
This warehouse is 5 stories tall, and it contains 45 million pounds of donated food. That's enough food to feed every hungry person in America for one day. Hunger is eating America alive. But if you can make a call, you can make a difference. Call Second Harvest, America's food bank network. Together, we're hunger's hope.
Eddie Vela doesn't believe in heroes.
What is it?
He just wants his son to go to college.
It's a worm.
He's joined scores of volunteers in the barrio.
1, 2, 3.
They're helping children build brighter futures. You don't have to believe in heroes to be one. Be a hero to a child in your community. Call 1-800-6-CHILDREN.
Who's got the shoes? Shoes. Oh yeah. Wet shoes. More shoes. Who's got the style? Styles. Oh yeah. Wet shoes. More styles. Who's got the value? Value. Oh yeah. Wet shoes. More value. More shoes, more styles, more value. Love it. Wet shoes.